And the events that day 15 years ago, our country, our world changed forever. The September 11th attack struck at the soul of our nation. And while the tragedies happened hundreds of miles away in New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington, we certainly felt the impact right here in our own community. Newsrooms everywhere, including 21Alive and Fort Wayne's NBC, worked tirelessly to keep you informed as that story unfolded. Our own Pauleen Lee takes a look back at how our newsroom reacted to the day's events.
The 9/11 terrorist attacks were unlike anything news outlets had covered before. Here at 21Alive, it challenged even veteran journalists who work hard day in and day out to bring you the news. But it wasn't just about covering what happened that day. Now, so many years later, they are memories, not easy to shake.
That day, there was a lot of humanity that was affected.
I've never seen, I don't think I will ever see anything that changed a country, that changed our society in an instant the way that did.
In my lifetime, this was, we are vulnerable. I got here at 5. I helped out with the morning show, and then I produced the noon. It was just a normal day.
Listening to the radio, as I almost always did, going into work.
I was up in the morning, I was getting ready for work, and I had Good Morning America on.
We were off the air for the morning show, and I looked up at the monitor, and we saw the first plane go in.
I started looking at it as just an objective news person, kind of thinking, this is the way they're covering it, and of course the fact that it's in New York City and it's the center of the media universe.
Within a few minutes, when the news of the second plane and that it's a large plane into the building, of course we all knew that it was something had gone terribly wrong.
So there it is right there.
We were in the control room the whole time, control room and graphics room. I saw people jumping. I saw people hitting cars, coming out of the buildings and falling, and their arms flailing as they were coming down, that were edited out for people at home to see.
It was one event right after the other event after the other event.
They were talking about the Pentagon, and the tower started to fall. And I remember yelling at my television, the tower is falling, the building is falling down.
I've been to plane crashes. I've been to fires. I've been to car crashes. I've been to a lot of traumatic scenes. And after a while, you kind of get to, okay, you can have an idea, well, the emergency crews are undoubtedly doing this, and the planners are doing that, and what should happen next. There was no what's going to happen next. We were on a brand new page. People were seeing things and learning things for the first time.
It was frantic. Frantic to the point where, how are we going to cover this locally?
Attack on the United States, the local perspective.
We'll return to ABC's coverage of today's tragic events in just a few minutes.
We were trying to make sure that we could assure our viewers that they were safe.
Before 10 a.m., all flights in and out were canceled, and as you can see, the airport itself is blocked off.
It was a very unusual scene. Airport was an important part because it was where, you know, so much of our travel and our ability to be free and the liberty to go where we want.
Security officers closely watched the terminal entrance.
You felt like if they had the capability and the desire, then it could certainly happen in our city as well.
I'm 21Alive's Corinne Rose here at the American Red Cross.
For the first time in my life, I went to a Red Cross blood donation center, and there were lines out the door. People just spontaneously showing up and waiting to give blood.
My aunt and my cousin worked for the World Trade Center, and they were killed this morning, and I figured even if it's just a pint of blood, it's something to help somebody else.
That day, I do remember trying to concentrate on what I had in front of me, focusing and doing our job. Certainly remember doing that, but I also remember my thoughts leaking off to other things, and how's my family going to be here, and what about our city, what's the future here, and So, you know, it crept in a little bit.
That's why we get into this business. We want to know. We want to know what's going on. But in those immediate days afterwards, we didn't know. And that was a very unsettling position to be in.
Tomorrow, we will be back, certainly not to normal, but things will continue.
Oftentimes we do stories that affect parts of our community in a significant way, but maybe not me and my family in a specific way. This one had that effect. You could tell that every single family in the viewing area was really taken by this story, grabbed hold of us, and we realized that you know, our lives may not be the same going forward. We really didn't know that, whether they would be or not.
The news in the days, weeks, and months following September 11th were filled with more information about just what happened that day and who was behind the attacks. Our country saw an outpouring of support for the victims and the recovery effort. To the many who lost loved ones that day, our hearts are with you always. For 21 Alive, I'm Pauleen Lee.